I'm Dino Heckerman. I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ. You know, I was about 3 years on the job, a young officer, and it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. And I can remember the call going over the radio of a residential burglary in progress. And I remember getting out of the car, and I can hear over the radio the other officers chasing them over backyards, yelling, "He's over here, he's over there." Officers actually fighting to apprehend these offenders. So I was pretty much amped up, to say the least, and running through backyards and going through bushes, and I even remember forgetting my flashlight. We get to the scene, and sure enough, there were these two offenders were really intoxicated, and later found out that they were also on drugs and just had a lot of fight in them. And in the process of handcuffing the one particular young man, he had turned around, and as he turned around, it caught me off guard, but he spat right at me, and I remember swallowing the saliva, and after that, it really made me angry. And after he was placed in handcuffs and actually shoved into the car, and we figure, okay, the case is closed. It wasn't until the next day I go to work, and mind you, I'm a new Christian. I just came to know Christ through a couple of police officers, actually older officers. One of them in particular was in the hallway of the police department that next day. And as I'm walking into the police department, he points his finger right at me, and he says, "Hey, do the right thing." And I didn't think really nothing of it. I go, "What are you talking about?" So when I get called to report for duty, I'm actually called into my supervisor's office, and I come to find out I'm part of an internal investigation. And it was until right then and there that I recalled the events of the night before, that how I apprehended him, I had mistreated him, knowing I was going to face a 10-day suspension. I remember vividly, you know, am I going to weasel out of this, or am I going to tell the truth? And without a doubt, it was Christ in me challenging me to be upfront and to tell the truth. It wasn't until about a year later, it was bothering me. Every time I went on a call, I just couldn't escape that sense of dishonoring the Lord. And I came across one of the offenders, and I passed him on the road, and I did a U-turn. And I came back around, and I got out of the car, and I can tell he was very nervous. I told him, "I just want to talk to you," and I kept at a distance where he felt reassured. And that's when I told him that night was not right, that I was very sorry for how I apprehended him. And he didn't say a word. And I got in the car, and I felt like a big weight was lifted off my chest. 13 years from that date, I'm working overtime at our local library, again in uniform. Since then, I've been promoted. Since then, I have 3 children. Since then, I've gained a few pounds. And off to the side, I recognize this young man. You know, he's literally a grown man now, to have been one of the offenders from that night. So I reintroduced myself, not that I had to. He asked me how I'm doing. We had some small talk. And I can just tell there was something different about him. And we just started exchanging notes on how that night has changed our lives. I come to find out he became a Christian. He was telling me that he goes back to the old neighborhood, and he goes back to a few of the corners, and he basically shoulders up to these young men, and he shares the gospel with them. We were just excited talking about how Christ moves in our lives, and how he knew then that such an ugly incident would be turned for his glory years later. God used that arrest to form our character and to build his kingdom. I listened, and I chose to obey, because I had a choice. And it was the Holy Spirit who was tugging at my heart. And I don't want to follow Dino. I want to follow Jesus. Because, you know, following Dino gets me in trouble. Following Jesus is what it's all about.